The Finalmouse Last Legend sold out in a matter of minutes. I was fully prepared to drop my hard-earned dollars to score one, and I missed out. Preparing to pay outrageous prices to scalpers, I prayed for a miracle, and I got one somehow for free. Thanks, Aimlabs. Finalmouse is no stranger to both hype and controversy, with some people swearing by the brand and others claiming that their mice are nothing but overpriced and poor quality. I've always been a fan of their mice, but I understand people's frustrations. The Starlight drops represent a massive achievement in gaming mice, with each drop Finalmouse working to improve what I think is one of the best gaming mice on the market, with the Last Legend representing almost 2 years of leading the way in magnesium mice. Using metal to create lightweight mice has been loved by many, and Finalmouse has been leading the charge, truly paving the way for companies like Razer and Ponage to release versions almost 2 years after the original Starlight release. The Last Legend is supposed to be the last of the Starlight releases, with Finalmouse recently announcing their upcoming successor, the Ultralight X, but more on that in a few minutes. The Finalmouse Starlight is a pretty familiar shape. It's about 122 millimeters long, a grip width of about 58 millimeters, and a height of 37 millimeters. It's a great, really safe shape that always plays well for me and a lot of people with medium to large hands if you're playing with pretty much any grip style. I've got 19 by 9 centimeter hands, and the medium works well for me in all grip styles, although if I'm playing claw these days, there are much better mice suited to that grip style, and the small is okay if I'm strictly going for fingertip. The shell is a magnesium alloy with an Ultim plastic base that allows for the wireless signal to escape the mouse. The design is the same that we saw with the Starlight Pro 10s, with the colors just inverted. Instead of a blank band across the scroll wheel, we see the return of the Japanese script that we saw all the way back on the Air 58. The design has evolved over the course of the Starlight, and the Last Legend is easily my favorite of all of them, the subtle black and silver obviously being a lot more toned down than the original design of the Starlight with the hyper-specific design. It didn't really mesh well with a lot of variety of setups, but I will say that designs like the Poseidon are really starting to grow on me. The all-white of the Pegasus, for example, looked super clean with all-white setups, and mice like the Poseidon seem to sort of stand out and complement setups no matter what you had. So I'll admit I was a little bummed when we didn't see the return of the original design for the Last Legend, but I really do love this all black version. The black coating of the Last Legend meshes really well with the magnesium shell, and the color matching on the base is excellent. The coating is a matte coating, but there's something about it that just looks amazing. There's like a sparkle to it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The matte coating feels a bit more grippier than the 10s, and it feels more in line with the traditional Starlights like the Poseidon and the Phantom. I do prefer this coating over the 10s, but they both worked really well for me. The build quality on my Last Legend is stellar. There's a lot of people that'll tell you that Finalmouse has awful QC, but I've never had a single issue with any of the mice that I've ever owned from them. I will say that most of my Starlights do suffer from the nasty crooked scroll wheel, but both my 10s and Last Legend seem to resolve this issue, and this seems to be due to the new TTC Gold rotary encoder for the scroll wheel. But to be honest, the crooked scroll wheel never really bothered me to begin with. Mouse 1 and 2 also feature Omron switches instead of Kale 8.0s this time around. I wasn't exactly thrilled with this change, but the Omrons are fine. I will likely be swapping these out sometime in the near future, either for Kale 8.0s or perhaps some Hoano Blue Shell Pink Dots. The skates are Finalmouse standard PTFE skates, and they feel great here. Of all the standard skates, Finalmouse have always kind of been my favorite. Both Pro versions, the 10s and the Last Legend, come standard with a set of Infinity Skin grips for both sides of the mouse. This is a nice addition, and while you don't get a full set like you did with the Cape Down, it's still nice to see the addition of grips with any mouse, and being able to alter the width of this mouse specifically opens up the possibility of using a Finalmouse to a lot more people. Now, in terms of Finalmouse Starlights go, this is a pretty standard release. There isn't anything particularly special about the mouse itself, which is actually saying quite a bit for Finalmouse. Having a standard release really isn't their thing. The mouse is great, but the feature that has everybody talking is less about the mouse itself, and that's the access code to allow first shot at Finalmouse's first mechanical keyboard, the centerpiece. Now, every Last Legend comes with a code that is supposed to guarantee you a spot in line. You still have to drop the $350, but not having to worry about whether or not you'll get overtaken by a bot is a nice addition to an already amazing mouse. But if you don't plan on picking up a centerpiece, there really isn't a whole lot of value there. With every Finalmouse video I do, the question I always ask is it worth it? The price ain't cheap, and there are countless great mice out there for a fraction of the cost. But with the Last Legend, you have the additional complication of whether or not you want a shot at the centerpiece keyboard. If you do, then it's kind of a no-brainer. From what Finalmouse is saying, it sounds like they're going to have quite a few centerpiece available for those who want it, but with any hyped release, chances are the bots are going to be out in full effect despite Finalmouse's best effort. So if you want to guarantee a spot to snag one, then obviously the Last Legend is a great way to do that. But if you don't care about the centerpiece and you just really want a great gaming mouse, is it still worth it given the fact that you can't buy these for retail anymore and you're forced to go the route of buying from resellers? And that really depends. The cost of the Starlights has dropped more and more, with 10s in the Last Legend being, surprisingly, some of the cheapest options available among the Phantom. My suggestion is that if you really want to go for a Finalmouse Starlight, you don't care how much it costs you, you don't care about buying from resellers, and you absolutely have to have one, I suggest going through either StockX or preferably buying local if you can. On StockX, the Last Legend is surprisingly the cheapest Starlight you can get right now, and they will sell you a fully sealed brand new in-box version, which means you do, or you should, get your centerpiece code included, and the prices are actually quite reasonable. The last I checked, the Last Legend was going for just under $230, which is one of the lowest prices we've seen for a brand new Finalmouse release, with the Poseidon and Phantom being around the same price. The 10s is starting to creep up a bit, around $280, so I'd avoid that if all you're looking for is just the absolute cheapest way you can get a brand new in-box Finalmouse. eBay can be tricky. While you're offered a lot of the same protections as you get from StockX, most of the Last Legends that I've seen live on eBay right now are already opened and have their centerpiece codes removed. And while if you don't care about the centerpiece, this isn't a huge deal, generally speaking, I try to avoid buying new open-boxed items like this at all costs. My suggestion is to avoid resellers as much as you can, as all that does is further perpetuate the cycle of things being out of stock and people paying high prices, which drives up the interest and demand, etc., like we're seeing with the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition going for almost $1,000 right now. So if you absolutely have to, maybe try buying used or off somebody who's actually used the mouse, opposed to some hype beast who is just trying to use our community to make money. But if you can hold off for just a few more months, Finalmouse has already announced the successor to the Starlight, the Ultralight X, and they claim it will be released at some point in 2023. So if you missed out on the Last Legend, you won't even really have to wait that long for an updated version that should be even better than a Starlight. And Finalmouse says that they are working towards making this an in-stock item, not limited drops, so the days of paying high prices from third-party resellers may be limited, at least for Finalmouse. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Last Legend. Are you guys excited about the Ultralight X? The response to some of my more recent videos has been amazing, and I can't thank you enough. If this is your first time here, consider clicking that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.